Imagine being a trailblazer, shattering glass ceilings and making history at every turn, yet constantly facing the sting of racist stereotypes and attacks. Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to serve as Vice President of the United States, has lived this reality. Stay tuned for a story of resilience, dignity, and the fight to redefine what leadership looks like in America. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Kamala Harris's rise to prominence is both a celebration of progress and a stark reminder of the systemic challenges that persist. From her early days as a prosecutor to her historic vice presidency, Harris has embodied the complexities of breaking barriers in a society that often clings to tradition and stereotypes. Her story is not just about her achievements, but also the resilience required to navigate a world eager to diminish her success. Born in Oakland, California, to immigrant parents, a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, Harris's upbringing was a blend of cultures that enriched her worldview. Her mother, Shyamala Gopalan, a cancer researcher and civil rights activist, instilled in Kamala a deep sense of justice and an understanding of societal inequities. Her father, Donald Harris, an economist, provided her with a global perspective on systemic issues, laying the groundwork for her later policy approaches. Growing up during the civil rights movement, Harris often accompanied her parents to protests, learning firsthand the value of activism. These early experiences planted seeds of determination in her, shaping her understanding of what it means to fight for justice. Yet, even as a child, Harris was not immune to the biases of her surroundings. Classmates would question her identity, asking which side she belonged to, forcing her to navigate the complexities of being both black and Indian in a world eager to box her into a single narrative. Kamala Harris began her career in law enforcement as the first woman of color elected as District Attorney of San Francisco in 2003. It was a momentous achievement, but it also put her under intense scrutiny. The challenge wasn't just breaking into a historically male-dominated field, it was overcoming the added layer of being a woman of color in a profession riddled with racial biases. Her approach to justice was multifaceted. Harris championed programs like Back on Track, which sought to reduce recidivism by offering first-time offenders opportunities for rehabilitation instead of incarceration. The initiative was groundbreaking, as it humanized those trapped in the cycle of the criminal justice system, particularly young men of color disproportionately affected by harsh sentencing laws. Yet, Harris's innovative policies didn't shield her from criticism. Opponents questioned her ability to balance reform with enforcement, painting her as too lenient or overly strict, depending on the narrative they wanted to push. The media often sensationalized her decisions, framing her actions as experiments rather than reforms grounded in data and empathy. One early and poignant example of bias emerged during a high-profile trial. Harris's methods were critiqued not on their merit, but through the lens of her identity. Reporters subtly questioned whether her multicultural background influenced her decisions, implying that her race was a liability rather than a strength. Harris, however, remained steadfast, often stating, "I was raised to believe that public service is a noble cause, and I am here to serve justice, not perceptions." When Kamala Harris joined Joe Biden as his running mate in the 2020 presidential election, the stakes were monumental. Her nomination was historic, a black and South Asian woman stepping into a position no one like her had ever held before. Yet, this groundbreaking moment also unleashed a barrage of racist and sexist attacks. Social media platforms became hotbeds of disinformation campaigns targeting Harris. Memes falsely questioning her citizenship and loyalty to America went viral, echoing the birther conspiracy once used against President Obama. Political pundits scrutinized her every move, questioning her likability a coded critique often leveled against women in leadership. During the vice presidential debate with then-incumbent Mike Pence, Harris faced another layer of bias. Her composed, assertive demeanor was reframed as aggressive. When she firmly responded with "I'm speaking," it wasn't just a moment of reclaiming space, it was a declaration against the persistent silencing of women, particularly women of color, in public discourse. That phrase became a rallying cry, printed on merchandise and shared across social platforms, embodying the larger fight for equity in leadership. Kamala Harris's position as the first woman of color in her role brought with it a unique set of challenges. As the first, she wasn't just representing herself, but also the hopes and expectations of millions who saw her as a symbol of possibility. This dual-pressure personal achievement and collective representation meant her every decision was magnified. Critics latched onto her multicultural heritage, accusing her of being too Indian in one instance and not black enough in another. Such critiques ignored the richness of her identity and reduced her to a symbol rather than a multifaceted individual. Moreover, Harris's ambition was often weaponized against her. Media outlets and political commentators framed her drive as cold or calculating, a stark contrast to how ambition is celebrated in her male counterparts. Reflecting on this double standard, Harris once quipped, "I eat no for breakfast," turning a dismissive critique into a battle cry for perseverance. The burden of being first also extended to policy expectations. Communities of color often looked to her for swift, transformative action on systemic issues like police reform and immigration. While Harris worked tirelessly to address these challenges, the sheer weight of these expectations underscored the unfair standard pioneers like her are held to. Despite relentless attacks, Harris continues to rise. Her tenure as vice president has been defined by a focus on equity, whether through advocating for voting rights or addressing maternal health disparities in communities of color. For Harris, the key to resilience lies in purpose. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, the rest falls into place, she often says. Her resilience was most evident during her speech addressing racial injustice following the murder of George Floyd. Harris didn't shy away from hard truths. "Our unity is our strength and our diversity is our power," she declared. Her words struck a chord, serving as both a call to action and a reminder of the work that lies ahead. Her leadership style, rooted in listening and collaborating, sets her apart. While detractors attempt to pigeonhole her, Harris's actions speak louder. She has consistently championed mentorship programs for underrepresented groups, stating, "If I'm the first, I'm committed to making sure I'm not the last." Harris's journey is a case study in the intersection of identity and power. Her experiences highlight the pervasive nature of implicit bias, showing that even the highest offices in the land are not immune to its influence. Yet, her story is also one of hope, a testament to the progress that can be achieved when determination meets opportunity. The impact of her work extends beyond policy. Harris's presence in the White House has inspired a new generation of leaders who see themselves reflected in her. Young girls from diverse backgrounds now dream of leadership in ways previously unimaginable. Kamala Harris's story challenges us to look inward and ask tough questions. How do we address the biases embedded in our systems? How do we create a culture where diversity is celebrated, not weaponized? And most importantly, how can we ensure that being first is no longer an anomaly, but a norm? Harris herself offers a blueprint for change. It begins with acknowledgement, recognizing the biases we hold and the systems that perpetuate them. From there, action is key. Whether through policy, education, or personal behavior, every effort counts in building a more equitable society. As her tenure continues, Harris's journey will undoubtedly face new challenges. But one thing remains clear: her resilience and commitment to justice will continue to inspire.